Amir Khan is the founder of Ayra.AI, an AI agency that is helping us develop our own software for dealerships. Listen in as we discuss how our new AI tool automates 100% of your phone calls, never misses calls, collects customer information 100% of the time, and books in sales and service appointments right into your calendars. We dive deep into what AI is capable of, the future of it inside of dealerships, and what AI actually is beyond ChatGPT. So thank you so much for listening in to another episode of Dealership Legends. Well, I just want to jump into it if you're good with that. The whole world thinks AI is just ChatGPT. And they're like, oh yeah, we use AI. And there's a statistic, it's like 47% of dealers currently using AI use it to provide better customer service. But what that really means is they're using chatbots that are labeled as AI and these CRM integrations and just really, really low level tools. And there's so much more. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? So that's why you're here today to talk about how AI can be used inside of dealerships and kind of the role that you're playing there.
I think there's a huge misconception, even like what is AI? A lot of people think even automation is AI. Like, if an email or text gets sent out automatically, you could have a client be like, oh yeah, we've been using AI for years. And then if you kind of dive into, and I actually learned this week, it was Mohammed, the main AI architect, that kind of educated me on how all this works. So prior to AI being AI, scientists were working on AGI, right, which is artificial general intelligence. And AGI is essentially the term people use for AI being able to be capable enough to do tasks like a human. So if me and you can go on our computer, open Gmail, and send out an email, that's general intelligence. Now, they weren't able to get there quick enough, so AGI turned into AI, which is just artificial intelligence. Just like kind of lower down the ladder, you're able to kind of replicate some things, but not everything. And now, we're approaching 2025, and there's a ton of news out there. Guys like Sam Altman from OpenAI basically stating publicly that 2025 we're going to have AGI, and that's a really bold statement for someone like him to release. He'll have a lot of attention on him now that he said something like that. But essentially that means like we're now entering a phase where even the artificial intelligence we have right now is going to get so good that it really is going to be able to do all these tasks that we as humans are able to do. So it's definitely exciting.
Absolutely. Well, I'm really excited about this because obviously we found a great use case in the dealership world. I know when we met, a fact that came out online was the average dealership misses 23% of their phone calls, and only 11% of the time customer information is collected. And we found a way to make sure that 100% of phone calls get answered, and 100% of the time customer contact is asked for. And this is in a reception point of view, so all inbound calls and inbound messages, and also outbound like an AI BDC. And you even see this now. We were building that AI BDC, and that's more of a feature, not an actual product, because this voice has the capability to act like a human and to carry out most of the tasks inside of a dealership. That is that middle part, right? You get the marketing, and then you got all the leads that come through. But sales teams have to nurture those leads and talk to them. But if that's automated, all the sales team has to do is look at their calendar, look at the appointments the AI booked, and service the customer.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a huge shift, especially in the dealership and automotive space in the next 6 to 12 months, and how these guys just operate their entire shop, right? I feel like there's going to be a lot of even rearranging of desks and whatnot. And in my opinion, you don't need that front desk, right? Where 2 or 3 or sometimes 4 receptionists sitting there and like answering phone calls, and they have to kind of lift up a bit when someone walks in the door and say, hey, how can I help you, and whatnot. We were laughing about this the other day, but you don't need to pay like high quality human beings a high salary and whatnot and give them all this responsibility just to be a phone picker upper, right? We really don't need that anymore. And And I think a key for us while we're approaching this industry is, again, we're not trying to replace the receptionist. We're not trying to get rid of anybody. We're trying to empower them. We're trying to give them these tools that if they use, it's going to make their life easier. It's going to make the dealership more productive, right? Instead of worrying about picking up the phone and following up with the appointments and doing everything as if you were perfect, just focus on customer support. Focus on customer service. Somebody walks in, go and greet them, take them to the coffee place, have them like sit them down, walk them to the sales rep, give them like focus more on that experience rather than the phone's ringing and you have to follow up with this person because they have an appointment and this person didn't show up. So now you need to figure out to reschedule them and you're not able to do all of it anyways, right?
Absolutely. I think this is like the biggest thing. A lot of dealers are trying to create this more welcoming brand experience when they walk in, right? All the touch points, the receptionist, or, we'll call it guest experience leader, that the receptionist can now be rebranded towards and actually create this amazing culture on the floor. When somebody, I had this conversation with a dealer the other day, actually a big group, 40 stores here in Canada. And I'm like, hey man, you know, a receptionist usually greets everybody that walks through the door. When a customer walks through the door, the first person they go to see is that receptionist. And why is that? I have a theory that it's because the sales and service team, even though if they were on the left and right side of that door and the receptionist was straight ahead, they'd still go to the receptionist because the sales and service team isn't greeting that customer. Why is that? Because they don't think it's their customer. They don't
Right.
know. The sales guys are like, oh, it's probably a service customer, and I won't deal with them until I get introduced to them.
Right.
But if that receptionist was removed, everybody on that sales floor would become a better guest experience person, right? They'd be crafting that. But if the receptionist was there to do that, now you're just talking another level.
Right. No, exactly. Yeah, no, I love that. And it's especially in an industry that's so high ticket and people like buy off of emotion and feeling and you want to have a nice experience when you're walking in
Mm-hmm.
to purchase a vehicle or even get a service done or something like that. Like just speaking from experience, right? The Porsche dealership here in Kelowna, it's incredible. Whenever I walk in there, I'm treated really nicely and it's a much different experience than I've had in other dealerships in other parts of the world, and that plays a very important role in how much the customer is going to like coming back, how much the customer is going to want to interact with that specific group.
100%. And I think this is just a domino of what AI can do. Like we're talking experience now. And the product was created to increase profits by a huge amount. So it's really interesting. When we started developing this AI stuff for dealers, you and I were on the call with our dealer group in California, and we're looking at their phone data. 5,500 calls in September. 3,000 of them were answered. 3% booking rate. So very, very, very little amount of client information was collected by that receptionist. And then 2,200 of those phone calls weren't picked up. 1,800 of those missed calls were unique phone calls. 30% of the people who did get picked up and put on hold hung up the phone.
Yeah.
We're talking thousands of hot leads that are calling every dealership every day that get hung up on or transferred, or they hang up, they get transferred, they just don't get help. And where are they going? They're going to the competitor. So
Yeah.
this is a $1 million problem every single month for many dealerships. Some will be a little lower, some will be much higher. That voice AI can literally solve.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that was a breakthrough point for both of us when we saw those stats because we're like,
Mm-hmm.
most of these businesses, most of these dealerships, kind of across the industry, a lot of people think that they have a lead generation problem and that they need to put more money in ad spend and they need to do more marketing and they need more referral partners and all this. But how can you even consider adding more to the top of your funnel when the only thing that's happening is it's just all leaking out? Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
thousands, like it was like 2,800 calls or something that wasn't picked up just in September, right? And it could just be one of those. It could just be one of those customers that pick up that make like the whole world of a difference. And these are the warmest leads that you're gonna get. It's not like they're coming from paid ads. They're calling your dealership directly. They're calling for a reason. They're either interested in like purchasing a vehicle. They want to trade something in. They need help. They need service. And if we're able to give these guys a solution that 100% of the time the calls are picked up, the customers are dealt with, their questions are being answered, and they're being directed to the right department to be then taken care of, that's the best way to overnight, like without doing anything, without having to lift like a single finger, overnight become more profitable.
Absolutely. I got introduced through a good friend who is in the advertising space, one of the biggest advertising companies in the dealership space. He exited, so I won't mention his name just because I'm sure he'd appreciate me not doing that. But he gave us a couple of referrals, two stores, um, Midwest in the US, uh, Acura store, 500 leads. This past month, they sold 22 vehicles. And they thought the problem was advertising. They're like, hey, we don't know where our next lead's going to come from, our next sale's going to come from. Well, looking at the call data, we know where that next sale is going to come from because the missed calls is like 30%, right? So these are buyers. They're not just calling a dealership to kick tires. They're not calling a dealership to order a pizza or just say hello to the receptionist, right? They're genuinely curious about booking a service or an appointment for a test drive or inquiring about a incentive that they've seen online. And to your point, one of those customers could be worth millions of dollars over that lifetime value, or it could be a contracting business that's looking to order a new fleet, buy a few new trucks, maybe a boom truck if you're Stellantis, you got some heavy duty, because they had big incentives this past few months, right, on those vehicles. So you're absolutely right. It just could be one customer.
And I was on my interview with Jordan, so Vappy CEO.
Yeah.
He kind of phrased something in my mind that maybe I underlooked, right? But the value that you get, even just after hours, is huge to begin with. Because one thing, if we look at the automotive industry as a whole, I've experienced this my whole life because I've always been in cars, like going to dealerships and whatnot. They're closed for 50% of the weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most dealerships are closed on Sunday, and uh, most people work Monday to Friday, which leaves them just with Saturday, right? Now, when you're closed for 50% of the weekend, when most people are even able to go out and or call or have a conversation or something, you're missing out on so much call volume. Sometimes you miss out on more call volume over the weekend than you do during the entire week, right? And not to mention, most dealerships also close before office hours even end. Sometimes 4, 5, 6 p.m., something like that. So just having someone there, just having AI there for all of after hours, all of the weekend, times where there typically isn't anyone to pick up the phone to begin with. That's immense value on its own. And I like the way that he introduced it. Sometimes for people that are so hesitant, you go in with a soft launch, right? You're just like,
Mm-hmm.
listen, right now you don't have anyone picking up the phone after 5. You don't have anyone picking up the phone on Sundays. Let's put someone in there, right? It's going to show you just how much money you're missing, right? Just dealing with the calls that are never, like, we don't have any intention of dealing with them in the first place. And then you kind of work your way up from there.
100%. You don't need to jump in with 2 feet if you're nervous about how your customers are going to react to AI. Will they know it's a robot? How is it going to handle objections? All these things. Then just test it with a couple lines. But I think it's important to mention that like this voice AI has been around for a while, but not this voice AI. Like voice AI isn't new. You've probably called the CRA or the IRS and banks and travel places and airlines, and you've probably been so frustrated that no, this is what I said, yes, not no, and like all this crappy interaction, awful user experience. This stuff is brand new. I'm talking 2 months old through OpenAI new API.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, like, the tech's advancing so quickly. There's so much competition in the market, which, as the integrators, which is where you'd really want to be, because right now, sure, we're using OpenAI's latest models and whatnot, but tomorrow if Anthropic comes out with the best AI APIs, and we're going to just be switching right over there. That's the nice
Mm-hmm.
thing about being in an industry that's growing so quickly is from the times we're giving prospects and clients demos to the time we're able to deliver service to them, there's so much improvement that we already kind of exceed expectations without even having to try to do anything because like the software just gets better on its own.
100%. I never even told you this. I had a conversation with one of the dealers in California yesterday that is looking to take this on, Subaru store, Audi store, and he listened to it for the first time. He's seen the dashboard. He's heard us in meetings every week talk about this, but he's never actually heard it because he wasn't present. And I'm like, hey, stick around, Joel. So um, he listened to it, and he's like, whoa, that is crazy. But he said, you know what? I don't think it matters if a customer knows it's a robot or not. And like, you can't tell. Like 3 minutes in, the average person couldn't tell at all. And we can make it even better than the demo
Yeah.
currently was with different voice options. But he said a really interesting thing. He said that if a customer realizes it's a robot and it's helpful and it's polite and it's answering all the questions that that customer needs and is booking their appointment in for an oil change or tire rotation or sales appointment or test drive, it's the human is going to start talking to that AI slower and in a calmer manner because it's super helpful. It doesn't make mistakes. So why be rude to it, right? It's solving all the problems. You're not being put on hold. It's picking up almost instantly. It's not transferring to different departments. It's not making mistakes. It can check your calendar. It can do all these things that a human can do, but at a 99.999% accuracy, right? It's just unbeatable.
Yeah, I think that's a super important point that you just mentioned there. And like honestly, even on our end, we have two types of clients, and a lot of them are really leaning towards the fact that okay, we genuinely don't care if this is going to sound like a human or if it's going to sound like an AI. The most important thing for us is functionality, right? So when it comes to the dealership industry or any industry in general, like you said, if it's useful and it's capable of doing what people want it to do, why would they care? Like I always use the example when I had to change my flight a few weeks back just to a different day. I called Air Canada and I knew what I was signing up for. So I called them when I woke up and I had them on my desk the whole day and it was 5 hours in, nothing. And I went through all the buttons, right? Like 1 and 7 and 4 and 5, and I put my numbers in and I've gone through the whole thing and I'm still 5 hours in and there's nothing. I had to drive myself to the Kelowna International Airport, fit park, go inside the airport. I was still on hold with them and that was faster. Everyone's not able to do that. Imagine just being able to call, picks up the first ring, asks you what you're looking to accomplish, and you say, all I need to do is change my flight date. And it says, perfect, no problem. What's your information? Let's get you changed up. Does everything for you, sends you the confirmations, gets the job done. You're not going to care if it's a real person, if it's not a real person, if it sounds like a guy, if it sounds like a dog, if it sounds like you won't care, right?
No.
Just and especially in service-based businesses, people are calling for a reason. The people call it dealership for a reason. They're busy. They want to get the job done. They want to get in. They want to get out.
Dude, I called for new insurance here because I moved a bit ago, and I called for new insurance. I called that insurance office probably 6 times. And after going through 4 different rounds of call trees, click 1 for British Columbia, click 2 for this, click 1 for this, click 4 for this. Now I'm finally talking to a human. And why was that experience so frustrating? One, because the call tree, I literally wanted to throw my phone against the wall because it just wasn't working, right? I click the button and it'd be like, oh, sorry, let's try that again.
Yeah,
I clicked it already. But it's not me wanting to speak to a human that the overall thing was. It's I just wanted a good experience.
yeah,
And if that human doesn't have to be there for me to get a good experience, that's what it's all about.
yeah, yeah. No, for sure. The call that I was on this morning, um, it was. This is the first time I've ever heard this, and it was super refreshing to hear this. The client goes, she's like, this is kind of off topic, but every week I go to see my mother. She's elderly. She's about 80 years old. She's in a home, and you want to know something that's like super cute? She talks to Alexa all day long. She has an Alexa. She wakes up. She's like, Alexa, good morning. How are you? And
Wow.
and she talks to it all day long because Alexa is nicer than most people she speaks with on a daily basis. So she genuinely finds companionship. And it's weird to say, and I know there's going to be a ton of pushback and controversy here and whatnot, but there are people out there that would like to have someone that they can talk to, someone that will always listen, won't be biased, can show up happy in a world today where people are so upset and angry and whatnot. In fact, not to get into too much personal detail, but it was shared on my interview, so I'll share it here. Vapi was initially built as an AI therapist
Hmm.
because the CEO was depressed and he wanted someone to talk to.
It's crazy. I think that's just a clear example of the human experience or intuition. We just want a good experience. We want people to respect us. We want people that we can respect. We want calm, great conversation. And if that experience is given through an AI, that solves a lot of problems for dealerships and staffing issues and efficiencies and profits. That's
The other thing that I think is going to happen, which is inevitable, is like we're both sold on AI. We're all in, and we're very committed to this. But some things you can't stop. Like there was no stopping the internet from becoming a thing. There was hundreds of thousands and millions of people that were saying, I don't need a website. I don't want a website. I don't want to have to do anything with the website. The internet is a bad place, scary place. So like that was the common conception. Now if you don't have a website, you don't exist. Right? It doesn't matter, like the people's opinions don't matter at some point because like certain forces will take over regardless. Now, in my opinion, I truly do believe AI is that specific force because now we have resources we didn't have before. We have people in power, people with finances, people with the funds to push this and bring it to market, whether other people don't like it or not. So it really is, in my opinion, that adapt or die
mhm.
type of point because today, sure, there might be some hesitation, some pushback and whatnot, but when it is going to become a standard in the market, when it is going to be here no matter what, people will adjust, right? Like if you
Mhm.
think into the future, sure, maybe some middle-aged people will not want to adapt AI as soon as quickly as we want them to. But if we look at today's generation that are growing up, people let's say 10 and under, right? They're growing into this type of technology. They love Alexa. They talk to Alexa. They talk to their phone. They talk to their iPad. We
Yeah.
can't go and change that, right? Like no one can go and change it. That's just where the world is kind of going. So when that generation becomes the majority population of the planet of Earth, they're going to prefer to communicate over voice and with AI to get things done. These are people with short attention spans. They want things done quick. They don't care about interaction and like feelings and all this sort of stuff. They're in a generation where they want instant gratification. They know that AI can give it to them, and they're already using this technology. So when like I guess where I'm going with here is when these people are the majority population on Earth, that's when AI, in my opinion, is going to thrive the most because there'll be absolutely no negative pushback.
100%. And I think this is just, it goes down to one word that popped in my mind as you're saying this. It's efficiency. Like over the years when people adopted technology, it's like, oh, you're going to order things online? Well, yeah, it's efficient. Oh, you're going to work from your phone? Why would you do that? It's efficient. You can work from anywhere. Um, you're going to uh, order a pizza through the online app instead of calling. Yeah, that's more efficient. So this is just, it's an efficiency game. People fly private. A lot of our clients here that are probably listening fly private, most of them. Why is that? Because it's more efficient, right? And this is just a whole different scale of efficiency that the world's going to have to adopt and will willingly adopt. And wait for the day, which I don't think we're probably what 6 7 months away from, where a customer's just going to be able to tell their phone, "Hey, call so and so dealership and book me an oil change," and that's their interaction, and then their AI agent will call the dealership to talk to the dealership's AI agent. That's it. The
Yeah,
customer doesn't want to go through the booking process, and the customer, more importantly, doesn't want to book things on the dealership's time. They don't want to have to call before 5 p.m. when that service center closes. They want to be able to call at midnight, and this
yeah.
allows that.
And honestly, if you're in the business for the people, to serve your customers, you wouldn't want your customers to have to operate on your time. You'd
Right.
want to provide them with an environment that they can be taken care of at whatever time of the day suits them best.
Absolutely. Let's jump into some objections. I was with our sales consultant the other day talking about how we're rolling this out. I think it's interesting. We covered a lot of them. Maybe I haven't even told you these, but maybe I'll let you give your feedback and then I'll kind of give you my rebuttal to this.
Perfect.
I think it'd be fun. A little bit of a game here. So, number one, it's too impersonal for our customers.
Too impersonal for our customers. So, main objection I think there is we have to compare it to what's there right now, right? So, if a receptionist is speaking with a person for the first time, they're not going to know anything about them. So they're not going to be personal to begin with. They'll try to be friendly and whatnot, but there's nothing personal about the conversation because they don't know anything about them. Sure, they can, if they start the conversation off with, hey, me and my wife are looking for like a new SUV. And if the receptionist is trained well enough, she had mentioned that elsewhere along in the conversation. But guess what? You can train AI to do that as well, and you can train to specifically do that and not forget to mention specific things about these conversations that they're having. But my objection to that would be is I think you can get AI to be even more personal than a receptionist because let's say you got the same guy calling a few times, right? Which, to be honest, most dealerships have return customers, right? So think of it this way: when your AI learns something, it never forgets, right? So I'm calling in. Let's say last year I went in to get my ski rack fixed, right? I call in again this year, and I'm like, "Hey guys, I came in last year to get my ski rack fixed." It will be able to reference the conversation we had last year. It'll be like, "Oh yeah, you came in and you had to go skiing the next day, and we got you and we got you all fixed up. Let's get that done again." No one's gonna remember that. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So again, just a misconception. If you just rewire the way about how you think about it, and you really think things through, how to use it to its advantage, you can make it way more personal than any receptionist could physically even be capable of doing.
I'm not even going to add to that. That was fantastic. Actually, I will, but an example of this, I did a demo the other day for this client I just mentioned a moment ago, and in the middle of the conversation, I'm like, "Oh shit, sorry, my kid just hit me with a ball," and I was like yelling at the kid in the background as a role play, right? And they're like, "What the heck? How can I handle that?" So when it came back, I'm like, "Hey, Lexi, sorry about that." She goes, "Oh, no problem at all. Kids can be a hassle," and she started making jokes about that. So that personal touch we train into the AI. So that was great.
Yeah, and
Um,
I I'll just quick add
yeah,
on there. You were
please.
the I didn't even know about that, to be honest. You were the first person to tell me that the AI is even capable of doing that because again, you wouldn't test something like that in a testing environment. And I think
Mhm.
what's really nice is that use case right there will continue to just get better and better and better over time as the AI LLM advances without us having to do anything.
Yeah. And I guess another example of this, not to go too far in the weeds, but other demos that I do, every single time it's in person on the phone, I will pass to the customer. I'll do the sales. I'll be like, hey, I'm looking for a Raptor, yada, yada, yada. Book me in, takes my info. She repeats my number for me. Braden, thanks so much for calling. And I'm like, anything else I can help you with? And I'll be like, yeah, actually, I'm with my buddy Samir or Mike or Jen. Um, can they book an oil change in? I'll hand my phone over to them. I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. Hope your drive's going safe or something like that. Pass it over to them. They'll
Wow.
book it in, and then she'll treat it as two different customers on the same call. So
Wow.
it's very personable. Next one, our current staff can handle calls just fine.
I just instant disagree. Like if you can show us a 100% call answer and a 100% follow up, and that you've missed zero calls all month after hours on the weekend and whatnot, then I think there's your answer right there.
Yeah, I agree. And I've never met more than one dealership that said they handle calls just fine. But, when we were launching this product, we're like, hey, this might be the number one pushback. And actually, it wasn't. Even Car Dealership Guy had a big post about this. There was dozens of dealerships. I think it was up to almost 100 comments saying, yep, this is a big problem. Yep, whoever solves this is going to be doing well. So,
I also don't think it's only about answering all your calls. It's about like mentioned earlier, it's about freeing up that person's time that is answering calls. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? You can do way more important things. You can do things that AI is not doing right now. So just because you can make coffee from scratch and it can take you 10 minutes to do it doesn't mean you should, right? Efficiency, like you said.
Very cool example there. All right, this is an interesting one because this is our biggest or was our biggest pushback until yesterday. We realized that it didn't really matter. It won't integrate well with our existing systems, but it does. So let's talk about this. I think this is really important.
Yeah. And this was probably our biggest pushback since we started approaching dealerships. And I think it's human tendency to find something wrong, right?
Hmm.
And I do it all the time too. You're like, okay, where's the flaw here? Like what? Like there has to be a give and take towards everything. And they're right. The it's most what I've found is most CRMs in the dealership space are closed off. They don't want people talking in and they don't want people talking out because they want to charge you tens of thousands of dollars to do the things that other people would be able to do better, right? And I think Go High Level is a good example of this. Go High Level does a bit of everything, just okay. You know what I mean? They do scheduling, they do CRMs, you can do note taking, you can build courses on it, you can do funnels, you can build websites, you can do a bit of everything, just okay, right?
Hmm.
Now, if that's what you're after, then sure, great. But I also think it's a flawed way of thinking of all of our stuff have to be in here and this is the only place it can be because it's most efficient. Man, you guys have hundreds of thousands of leads and contacts in there that are not being reached out to. You don't even know about them. They're not being taken care of. What we're trying to create for you right now is a receptionist system. Anything to do with incoming calls, anything to do with outbound calls, this is the platform that you're going to want to use. Because guess what? If this added extra step is going to help you add 20, 30, sometimes even 40% to your bottom line, you're not going to care, right? If you were told that as a guarantee, you wouldn't think twice about it. So, and I think it's also important to mention that these CRMs that sometimes you're not able to integrate with, they're not built for AI. Like they're 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 built 5, 10 years ago. They're not built for today's technology. So even if you were able to integrate with them, they don't have the capabilities of even handling the technology that we would try to give it. So it kind of comes to this point where you have to look at your client and be like, are you gonna let the ability to integrate with your CRM or not stop you from adapting AI? That's a question for you, Mr. Dealer, right? Do you want to adapt AI? You do? Okay. Your CRM does not integrate with it. That's a fact. There's nothing you or I or even the creator of AI can do about it. Currently, your CRM doesn't integrate. Do you still want to take advantage of AI? If so, here's a perfect solution that will work even better than what you think you want to do.
This is my favorite topic, and I have so much to say here. I'm going to try to trim it down. I've had two conversations with two very, very high up executives in the dealership world in the last couple weeks, and actually last week, and showing them our dashboard and the actual software that connects everything. One said these exact words: you guys are very close of replacing what we know today as dealership CRMs with this whole product suite that we've built. And I think that's really important. And the meeting yesterday that I had, I showed these guys the dashboard now after talking about the voice AI. And they're like, hey, how is this going to work? How is it going to integrate? And they're like, this doesn't matter if it integrates. The way we have it set up, the way the leads come through, the transcripts, the weighted leads, the order of importance, who to call first. It's literally what CRMs are meant to do, and they don't do it well.
Yeah.
And the sales team doesn't use the CRM well. It's not necessarily the technology, it's people not following processes. So if
Yeah.
all of these things can be automated, the chance of us needing to integrate with CRMs, very, very slim. They actually said, yeah, integrations don't actually matter anymore. And to your point, Samir, you had mentioned, what if installing this technology will increase your profits by 30%? You're not going to care a whole lot about spending an extra hour manually importing things into your CRM if that's something that you wanted to do, because you've bought back 60 hours of your receptionist time. Now she can spend an hour a day doing that, right? Now
Yeah.
you're at 59 hours of net efficiency, and 30% net profits going
Yeah.
up too. So this all doesn't matter in the scheme of things. And the same thing with our consultant yesterday. I was talking to, and he's like, huh, yeah, I thought that was going to be a big problem. It's not.
It's not, it's hard for people to visualize, right? Unless
Yeah.
you, and that's kind of what we've been working towards here. It was a huge pushback for us. And I'm sure you remember, I was very adamant on, listen, just give it a shot, right? Give it a shot, try it out. If you don't like it, you don't have to use it. But like what we're trying to build here is functionality, use case, and efficiency, right? For the goal that you are after, we're going to deliver you something that will help you get to that goal the best of its ability, right? As quick as possible. Honestly, when we were thinking about like all these features and whatnot, we looked at what they're currently getting, right? But there's so much more that you can do. So like when I had the architect design this, I was like, I want this to embrace the perfect employee. Let's say that I'm a receptionist. My job is to take all the phone calls. In a perfect world, if let's say if I was let's another example. I have an employee, right? I'm the employer. And if I want this receptionist employee to be so perfect, I would tell her, you have to answer every single phone call. While you are taking those phone calls, I need you to literally transcript the whole call. I want you to highlight all the important things. I want you to figure out where this customer is in terms of happiness. Are they upset? Are they happy? Are they enthusiastic? Are they interested? I'm going to teach you to find out how this person, like what to look out for to figure out if this person is interested. And I'm going to train you specifically on the best sales skills in the world so that you can ultimately book these people in for an appointment. And I want you to do that every single time without error, perfectly. And then after that call, I want you to do all these analytics about the whole call that you had and give me a full report every single time. And that's what we've built, right? So it's as if you have this perfect employee and you're asking it to do all of these things, and it says, yes, sir, I will do it every time. Why wouldn't you want that?
This is so good because when I showed this big group the dashboard yesterday and they visualized what we've built, they're like, oh my goodness. So the data, the race to data or data, however you want to pronounce it, tomato, tomato, um, that is where the money is, right? And I
Oh, yeah.
was telling them, I'm like, guys, we have all your CRM data that we can integrate to this, but think about all the data that we're getting, thousands of data points every single month. Every single phone call is now a new data point that you've never, ever, ever had before. And it's in our system that we can leverage for inbound and outbound sales. So think about dealers when you're listening to Samir. If you can't visualize this, an example would be, hey, this week you had a 20% increase of leads asking for a used vehicle or a certain model, or explaining a frustration that they have with their current vehicle, a buying process, a competitor, or even your dealership. You can make really quick executive decisions on customer service, sales processes, service processes, based off of all these calls and all the data that we're collecting. And then guess what? You can just retarget all these people that haven't converted with ads. So it's crazy.
No, and like you said, when we're in this race to data, especially in today's age, we know data is everything. It's like one of the most valuable currencies.
Yeah.
It's so valuable for the dealers to, again, have this perfect employee that gives you these reports. This is what people are asking me. This is what people are talking to me about. This is what people want right now, right? Like if I give another example similar to like what you did, let's say in the month of November or somewhere, like here, everyone's calling in, hey, can I get a used truck? Or do you guys have any trucks available? I want to trade my car in for a truck. And like, let's just say that's the example. And then you go and you look at the report and you're like, okay, we have X amount of people wanting a truck. Let's put some ads out about trucks. Let's reach out to everybody who has an old truck and offer them a new truck. Or like this, you're able to understand the market sentiment so well if you have 100% of the information, right? So we started the call going on about, okay, like how great is it if our business accepts 100% of our calls? Eventually that's going to become redundant. If you're not accepting 100% of your calls, then like you got some, like we got to work on that, right? But well, after that becomes normal, there's so much you can add on to this, right? You can get into the data, you can get into outbounds. I know we were talking about adding features where you're able to upload these older customer lists, people that are coming up with their leases that are going to be renewed, and typically you're supposed to have these prospecting teams that reach out to them, but nobody wants to do that again
Hmm.
because the level work. Our AI employee is not going to care. It's happy to do
No.
whatever to throw at it.
And why would you have a $10,000 a month, even a $2,000 a month person or team doing that task, and it's going to take them days to reach out to 1,000 people, and they're only going to get through to two of them, or a very small percent, anyways. Why wouldn't you just click a button, go prospect, whatever the button says, and it's done instantly? it's crazy.
Yeah. And, right now the outbound capabilities are so limited with AI because people haven't done it. But
Hmm.
as soon as the nice thing about this is we're so early on, we're so fresh, we're learning about the use cases as we go, we're learning about the solutions as we go. As soon as this gets into like the bulk hands of the clients, right? Then you got the clients' brains thinking about it. These are people that have been in the industry for 10, 20, 30, 50 years that know the industry inside out. They're going to know how to put this to the best use way more than we are, right? They need to really understand it. They need to really see its potential, and they're going to be able to come up with way better and more profitable use cases than we could ever think of because they have
Hmm.
information that we don't about how the entire industry works.
Right, absolutely. I know this is, I'm not sure if this would exactly integrate with the dealership, but I'm sure it will in some way. But video AI is the next thing because we got the voice down, right? Video AI is almost there as well. Very, very select people got it figured out. Um, but you even said when you jump on a Zoom meeting, the AI note takers, those are relatively new and everybody has them. They're so important. But what if your AI note taker was your AI assistant that answers your phone? You
Yep.
now have a face to the name.
Yep.
Oh, Lexi that answers my phones. This is her, and she's taking the notes, and she can engage with you. Hey, Samir, I'm the AI note taker. I'm just here to listen in. Hope you have a great meeting. Whatever. She clicks mute, and she's just taking all the notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, like I'm trying to just tie the bow on that this week, and
Yeah.
going forward, all my Zoom meetings, I'm gonna have Ira or whoever I decide to call her just hop on, introduce herself, and it's a fun little cool party trick and a nice sales tactic to keep the conversation light and break the ice in the beginning. And then, like you said, they just sit quiet and they take their notes. If I need the AI to engage, it will. And the tech isn't. It's not that far behind from that becoming like very widely used. Again, speaking with Jordan, one of the highest use cases that he said is it's interesting. They are building like agencies are building sales teaching bots, right? So
Hmm.
agents and employees to help you learn sales and onboard and do all the sales training that you do. So when you bring on, and I feel like these are things that aren't being done that well, or it could not even be being done at all. And if they are done properly, it could be so effective. Let's say you're a new dealership, you're hiring 20 sales guys, and you want them all to know these standard practices. You want them all to practice sales in a specific way. If you had the chance to sit down with them as a dealer with all this experience selling these specific vehicles in this same dealership, and you could sit down with them and do this role play back and forth and explain to them like this is how you want to approach your clients and whatnot. If you could do that each and every single time, you'd love to, but you can't. But now you can train an AI to onboard these sales reps or onboard any type of customer service or any type of employees and make them go through this training that's perfect every single time.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really interesting. I think it's important to mention, like, one of the pieces of pushback that we've gotten until we've explained this is, how are you training this, right? It's like it's going to take time to learn the processes and stuff, but no, it's not true. It's just we upload the processes and it's instant. We give it a box to work inside of and how it operates. Um, so if you want it to handle objections certain way, respond certain ways, whatever processes that you need your human person to follow, it will also be able to follow and add to. So,
I'm telling everyone the way I want you to think about it is it's an AI employee, right? The term AI agents floating around everywhere. I think
Mhm.
even softer like a term is an AI employee, and
Yep.
that's become more recognized as we go along in these next few years. It's going to become normal for businesses to hire human employees and to hire AI employees. There will be HR for AI employees. There will be onboarding teams for AI employees, and the same as of right now, the same way that you bring on a new hire, a new human hire. You know, you have an interview with them, you sit them down. You probably won't have to have an interview with them anymore, but you sit them down, you give them the SOPs, right? These are the standard operating procedures. This is what you need to know. This is what you need to learn. This is what we do. The same SOPs that you would give to a human, the same things that you would teach to a human, you're just going to teach the AI the same way, right? It's no different. You just have to give it guidelines, you have to give it instructions, and it's going to listen to you every single time with 100% accuracy.
Well, you just gave me an $1 million idea, and it might interact very well. It's kind of related to what you just said. I don't know how you sparked this, but my goodness, thank you very much.
I
I'm
hope
writing
you.
this down into feature lists.
Okay, beautiful.
Holy moly. Okay. Cool. So yeah, it's so fascinating, man. All the use cases. I think let's wrap this up with just testing the tech out. Why not? Like we can talk about it.
Go
Let
for it.
me disconnect my headphones. What I'll do is I'll pull up the AI demo built for one of our Stellantis dealerships.
This is Lexi from Elk Grove Dodge. How can I help you?
Hey Lexi, I was on your lot the other day and I was looking at a used Jeep Rubicon. I've got a 2017 Audi that I would like to trade in for that.
Oh, awesome. Trading in for a Jeep Rubicon sounds like a fun adventure. So to get you connected with one of our sales reps, I just need to grab some quick info from you. What's your name and phone number?
Yeah, my name is Braden and my phone number is 519-635-7715. Just don't call after just call after 10 a.m. I'll be sleeping before then.
Got it, Braden. Thanks for the info. I'll make sure a sales rep reaches out to you after 10 a.m. about your trade-in and the Jeep Rubicon. Is there anything else I can help you with today?
Yeah, can I book an oil change real quick for my wife, April?
Sure thing. I just need a little more info to help get that oil change booked for April. What kind of vehicle does she have? And what's a good phone number to reach you at?
Yeah, she drives a 2022 Dodge Durango GT, and you can use the same phone number I already gave you.
Perfect, Braden. A 2022 Dodge Durango. Nice choice. What date and time would work best for the oil change?
Do you have availability like next Wednesday morning sometime? What's open on your calendar?
Let me check. Yep, we have availability next Wednesday morning. How about 10 a.m.? Does that work for you?
How about 11 o'clock? Does that work?
Absolutely. 11 a.m. works just fine. I've got you all set for an oil change on Wednesday at 11 a.m. for April's 2022 Dodge Durango. Is there anything else I can help you with today?
Ah, sorry, one second. My kid. Hey, put that over there. Thank you. Sorry, I'm back now.
No problem. No worries, Braden. Family first, right? So, is there anything else I can help you with today?
No, that's everything. Thank you.
Awesome. Before you go, want to hear a quick car joke?
A car joke? Sure. Could you do a Jeep joke, maybe?
Absolutely, Braden. Here you go. Why did the Jeep break up with the SUV? Because it found someone more rugged. Hope that gave you a chuckle. Have a great day, and take care.
It's just, wow.
So it's almost perfect. There was a couple little hallucinations in there, but that's we just got to change some settings on that. So yeah, that's pretty amazing.
It's crazy because I've been so into making sure the tech is doing what it needs to do that I haven't had the time to play around with the conversations like that.
Yeah.
I didn't even know the capabilities stretched that far. So I will say you're probably the best demoer I have ever met because you really put it through its paces.
Well, you sit and listen to transcriptions of calls through call tracking software for dealerships, and we look at like how people are handling these prospects that come in and not getting back to them and all these things. And there's like data points that we can like visually see because these CRMs don't have the ability to actually put it into analytics through AI yet. But you can see how people engage in background noise and how people communicate and different languages and different accents. This can handle everything, right? It's all trained on OpenAI. I think that's important. OpenAI hired what, 4 million human beings to make the voice stuff with different accents, ethnicities.
I can't remember if it was OpenAI or Meta. One
Gotcha.
of the two hired, I think it was 3 or 4 million just people to help with voice,
Hmm.
right? And that says something because when you have these big conglomerate businesses pouring millions of dollars and time and resources into even just a small sector like voice AI,
Yep.
that kind of it does that's the market analysis. That's the social proof that okay, this is here to stay. We're pouring our resources into it. And even Jordan said he's just like, and they would know a lot more than you or I, just because they're in it. Their feet are on the ground over there in Silicon Valley, and they're kind of living and breathing this every day. But his predictions are by the end of the year, voices are just going to be everywhere. You're going to want to talk to things that you typically text, and a big part of that is trying to take this texting thing away, right? Because we lose so much over conversation, we lose so much over text, and and that's why this tech is introducing features like so OpenAI's real-time API. It really helps pick up emphasis and emotion and like all that tonality that you don't have right now. Even though it sounds like she has it, she's really just working off of prior experience and programming and whatnot. Because what's happening, as we know, is your voice is first getting converted to text, and then that text is going to OpenAI, which OpenAI responds also to in text format. And then we use softwares like 11 Labs and other voice providers to turn that text into voice. So there's this whole circle that's going on every single time that she's responding. And I think we've got that down to like 850 milliseconds, less than a second, which is so quick. And sometimes, most of the time, humans take even longer to respond. But when we start switching over to speech APIs, then the AI is able to understand things like excitement, right? It's able to understand my emotion, my tonality, because we're not converting it to text, right?
Hmm.
We're going straight to speech, and it's able to respond to us in speech without those middle people. So there's a lot less disconnect in that whole diagram.
Right. And that is such a valuable point there is like dealerships are worried about this AI messenger bots that, you know, people are selling as AI BDCs or whatnot. But and they're like, hey, if it's a mad customer or even automating Google reviews, if it's an angry customer, how is it going to respond to people? But the voice, it just if it can sympathize and actually handle these situations, it eliminates that worry. So
Yep. No, exactly. You're spot on with it.
man, well, thank you for jumping on. I'm really, really excited for what we're doing together and building. And I know our clients are as well. It's going to
Yeah.
replace a lot of a need for human capacity and also let that dealership and those team members be more efficient with higher value tasks, building culture, selling more vehicles, and most importantly, for the dealerships out there, making more profit. So thanks for jumping on the call today, Samir. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thanks for having me, and we're along for the ride with you.
I hope you found some value in this conversation, just like I did. And we're excited to continue to bring interviews and conversations with dealership legends, maybe just like yourself. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. I'm your host, Braden Gingrich from Dealer Surge.